have a guest with us this evening, but first I want to acknowledge Dr. Thompson, who is the brains behind this whole operation and makes this whole thing work so well.
Well, Dr. Warren, extremely excited to be here on today, and I want to thank you for this allowing us to be in this partnership. One thing about what we do is that at Black Men and Women United, the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint, NGOD Radio One, we like to be on the cutting edge of what is happening in the pulse of our community, not only locally but nationally and internationally. And I think the outcome is that we met someone at Black Men and Women United. They had something great to say, and we said, "Oh, there's no need to wait. Let's get you
Yeah,
on as soon as possible."
come right
So
away.
tonight we have a special guest with us. I'm going to ask everybody to share, tune in. This young man that is going to come to us is going to bless each and every one of you and give you some great information. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Dr.
Well,
Warren.
we have with us Dr. Ricky Polk this evening. And one of the great things that I was excited about when he came on with us is that not only is he doing things in terms of mental health services to our kids, but he is now the incoming chair of the Black Psychologists of San Diego County. Is that the formal name now, Dr. Polk?
The Association
The
of Black
association,
Psychologists.
yes. And I shouldn't forget that because they gave me this beautiful plaque that I have hanging on my wall when I walk in my door some 10 years ago. And
Mm.
so, very excited to have him with us because he represents a breath of fresh air. We have so many mental health needs throughout the community. Our kids are even more impacted. Black people have always been impacted with mental health issues. We just didn't get treatment. We just had to live with it. And now we've reached a point where if you got mental health issues and you have contact with the police, you're not likely to survive. So it's become terminal in terms of what we have. And we've known about the problems of our kids for a very long time. Broken homes, abuse, pressures, rejection, just living while being black has been a challenge for them, and it remains a challenge for us. It's not a question of driving while black; it's now a matter of living while black,
Mhm.
and we encounter so many places, and a lot of us have become immune, and we just kind of let things slide that we shouldn't. And I'm here to challenge every offense that comes up. I catch it at the door. I'm gonna stop it right there. We're gonna deal with it, and maybe it will save both some black person and some white person down the road. So, Dr. Pope, we want to give you an opportunity to say some things about, like you did with us, who you are and what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be doing it. I mean, I see you got that backdrop of San Diego State. There's a lot of need for help up there, both in terms of faculty and students. Probably some faculty members up there need to be in treatment, but we're gonna let you. We're gonna let you deal with it. I should warn you, I'm a very outspoken person, so I don't hold back, and I've had some experiences there that give me cause to say what I'm saying. But we're here to hear from you, so please take it away and talk. You're talking to the community. We're talking to people in a lot of different places, and this is the first of many visitations that we're going to do. So we want to just share that coming in the door. Go right
Oh yeah,
ahead.
no, I'm really excited to have a chance to come on and talk to you,
Louder.
Doc. Oh, louder.
No,
Okay.
you're fine.
You
You're
find it's
talking to
on
me.
us. It's on us.
Uh, oh, okay. Perfect. No. Dr. Thompson, Dr. Warren, thank you so much for having me on tonight. Really excited to get an opportunity to talk about mental health. I wear a lot of different hats in the community, so I wasn't born but raised here in San Diego since second grade. Mom was in the military, and so that's how we ended up here. And I went through K through 12, ended up dropping out of high school. Actually, it was a very difficult within the system at the time. And I know there's been changes and things, and then sometimes things do stay the same. But I'm really touched. Being at San Diego State and working with a lot of students on campus, I see a lot of passion that young adults have for becoming teachers, for becoming school counselors, and so they're on their way. They're coming. We're trying to get it. We can't get them through the pipeline fast enough, to get out there and implement some change within these systems. And then I went to Mesa College, community college. And so I had that opportunity, and then later transferred to SDSU and did criminal justice, master's in education, then finally a PhD from Western Michigan. And so, yeah, no, I mean, just listening to the opening, there's so many issues that you raised. So like, where even to begin? But definitely with mental health, it's something that is very important to me. It's my life's work. It's what I'm passionate about. And as the incoming president of the San Diego chapter of the Association of Black Psychologists, two of the initiatives that we're working on as an organization is to continue doing these emotional emancipation circles, which is an opportunity to provide workshops in the community for people to really heal from racial trauma, racial microaggressions. And the other initiative, what we've been working on is this, it's an AEI Saturday school. So what we're proposing to do is to have a Saturday school and have youth in the community come to school and get mentorship, backpack giveaways, like all the good stuff. And I know other groups are doing similar stuff as well. And so, part of what I'm hoping to do is to collaborate. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come to Black Men and Women United. Back when I used to go to it, it was Black Men United, and I was a youth. Some of the pastors at the church, they would take us to feed the homeless or unhoused individuals, excuse me. At the time, they would call it the homeless ministry. So we would go downtown and do that, and we would go to Black Men United. And for me, like I said, I grew up single parent home. To be able to fellowship with men, that was very important to me. So now that that I'm licensed and I've had some time to get back into the community, one of the stops had to be Black Men United. And Black Men and Women Unite. Don't get me in trouble now. So yes. No, so I'm thrilled to be on the radio and just to see you two brothers doing your thing and to know that the organization's still going strong. And I got a chance to run into Dr. Leonard Thompson at the EEC. They did a phenomenal presentation. It was, what was it? Black Man, Black Masterpiece. They had a band. They had Paving Great Futures, catering some food. No, it was amazing. So for me, like just getting out into the community, what I'm starting to see is this cross-section, intergenerational cross-section of folks doing some really positive things. And I don't know, my hope is that to be a bridge and to really bring folks together is what I'm hoping. Like I'm seeing Black-owned businesses. I'm seeing a lot of good stuff since I've come back to San Diego. So
I want to jump in and I'm gonna ask some crazy questions, but it's gonna be all following up. So and coming into play with the current state of social media and the influence of it on our young people's life and even the adult life, how is it affecting the psyche of people as well as the instability of us as African Americans?
Well, I would just say, whoever made these they did a good job. Man, they work so good. You be swiping and right. And so whatever it is, like whatever information you're into, the cell phone is a mastermind at getting you to keep using the device. So it's working just the way it's supposed to. So, so what I say is to just have some empathy for us humans, right? Like understanding psychology and how these devices are designed and how like they're designed so that you keep using them. That's how they make the money, right? And so, I promote with my college students, with my young people, we gotta take breaks, right? Like our brain needs a break. It needs a detox from all of the constant screen time. So I would say like the best things that we can do as parents, as college students, as young professionals, wanting to be at our highest levels of performance, I would say, so sleep is free. Right, that's the best thing you can do for yourself for free is get to sleep. So get a good night of sleep, reduce the screen time, reduce the sugar, right? Like those are some S's. If I make up a thing, it'll be 3 S's or the 5 S's, right? But reduce that screen time. So I'm not like smartphones are a part of our life. I think they're here to stay until we get the next evolution of technology. But I definitely think we got to reduce down some of the social media and some of the screen time. And we know that the social media is not healthy. right? Like the body image, racial ethnic identity issues, right? Like it's just a constant bombardment of positive and negative stuff, all across all the different platforms. And so really trying to target use. So like what I use Instagram for, because for example, that might be the app that I would use to know what's going on in Black San Diego, right? Like you can follow different groups and organizations and really know what's going on. And so I try to limit my use to that. But it's a slippery slope, and then you start swiping and seeing what someone's doing. One of the things that psychologists talk about is cognitive distortions. So compare and despair, right? You get on the social media apps, you start looking at what everybody else is doing, you start comparing yourself to other people, comparing yourself to their highlights. As you would say, right? We only post the good stuff. And so then you start comparing yourself to everybody's highlight tapes and start feeling bad about yourself, right? And so I think the best thing we can do is just take a break. But to tell this generation of students, and probably ourselves too, we be using social media too now, to not use it at all, I don't know. I think that time is come and gone. It's a part of our lives, but I definitely think we need to take a break.
I have. I want to flash back for a moment because you caught me when you said that when you were younger, you used to come to Black Men United,
Yep.
and very few people realize. I try to tell them, in terms of the 15 years or so we've been doing this, and there's only about three of us now that are still the carryovers from that day. But you said something very interesting about how helpful it was because I've tried to mention from time to time how parents often brought their sons and we tried to work with them. And also in that day, we had something else going on when we had rites of passage. Um, People like Brother Dwayne, Brother, what's Dwayne's last name? I can't can't think of his name at this point, but he was so instrumental in that, and we got so many young people into it. So I was very curious when you said that you had that experience because we don't know. Those of us who still do it, some died, some moved, things happen. We have no real record of that impact in terms of
Yeah,
that
man,
day.
I would say. I mean, we went down. So I went with the. I went to my home church would have been Linda Vista Second Baptist. It would have been Dr. Reverend Green at the time.
Right.
Now I think it's Pastor Jarman now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, no, with Brother Beverly, Deacon Beverly, uh, and a bunch of other good brothers, and Black Men United, we would feed the unhoused folks, and just to see like, because right, if you watch the news, if you're seduced by what's in media and what's said about Black folks and Black men in particular, then this would have like, what, Black men are doing this? No way, right? But I grew up seeing it, right? Like I grew up seeing folks give of their time and of humanity and share with people. So I think that greatly impacted me. And so I think just the mentorship and the representation of what's possible.
So let me say this, Dr. Pope, you probably invited people and you gave them the Zoom link. They should be using the GOD radio link. I just gave it to you in your chat so that you can share with them. Because I see a lot of people coming onto the Zoom, and I'm going to try to limit. We're going to let them come in, but we're not going to let them jump in just for safety reasons. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, and we're gonna continue to do this, and the reason I took you back, Dr. Pope, is because um, as Dr. Thompson knows, we met for 5 years every Saturday for 5 years, and there were lots of strifes in families as wives wondered why you can't take a break, and people didn't want to miss being there, and so there was a bond that grew out of it, and we've tried to maintain it because we became the catalyst for all of the Black Men United entities that you see when you Google it today in different cities. And so I'm for all those reasons, I'm so excited about your ascension of where you are because we got a chance. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. All we have to do is dust the wheel off.
You got
Okay.
it.
And so and when we talk about social media, there was a time that you never heard of a black youth committing suicide.
Mhm.
And yeah, we done jumped over in the whole thing with everybody else, and we've got people killing themselves because they either bullied or they're being given bad images in on the net about who they are and what they are, and
Mhm.
I really believe we've got to try to pull them back for conversation because that's where the character of the culture is from interaction, and what they need most from us is not going to be on that iPhone. So, have you got some ideas of things that
Yeah,
we
no,
can do?
you're 1,000. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. So when I was at Western Michigan, I was in the health center there. So I was a doc student at the time, and I wanted to do a group for Black men. And a lot of people were like, "Wait, a group for Black men? Are they going to show up?" Man, these brothers showed up. So I probably had like 6 or 7 young Black men at the time coming weekly to this group. We'd meet maybe I would say an hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes three. Because once they got talking and coming every week, then
Yep.
they just, yeah, that was it. That's all. They just needed the space and needed to know that it was okay to talk about what needed to be talked about and be vulnerable. To my surprise, there are stuff in the community where there are young people doing like stuff through the arts, and then there's like space to talk about it, like poetry, singing, uh, theater. I was working with this group called Black Renaissance on the campus of SDSU, and it's just a group of students that are really charged up about Black theater, Black musical theater, which wasn't necessarily my first love, but meeting them and their passion for telling stories and then the power of their storytelling to take back the Black image and tell the complexity of our stories. And they just want to act. That's it. They just want to act. Right. And I'm just like, okay, like I want to work with y'all. And so I've been able to see them like produce, like write and produce scripts. And these are like, you know, 17, 18, 19, 20 year olds. So I don't know, like when I'm in the community, like I'm having one conversation. When I'm on the college campus, I'm having another conversation. And it just feels like there's this wave of young Black people that are coming. And they got some ideas. They're starting their businesses while they're in college. I've been working with this company called Rare Sight. They do like photography, videography. They edit a lot of recap videos of different events, Black-owned events. They're in their last semester of school and doing all the work they're doing. So I don't know. I'm real excited about this next generation coming like right behind me, actually, too.
So let me ask you this question. We've been talking about mental health in our communities. We've been talking about the things that we feel that we need. Being that you're the new incoming president of the Black Psychologists Organization, what would be your first action plans that you would really want to push for communities of color, especially African American communities?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's continuing the mission of the Association of Black Psychologists. I think it's strengthening our numbers and our membership so that we can have more reach and intensify. But a lot of the work that we're already doing is the emotional emancipation circles. So definitely teaching people about
No, no,
racial
no,
trauma.
no, no. You can't just throw the name out there and not go on and say where do they meet, how they. Come on, give me more. Than don't just throw the name out there.
So really, what you can do is you can email us, and I'll get the email and I'll put it in the chat, and you can have us come and do them. But some of them, a lot of them were scheduled and went out. So we got to get that stuff to the Voice and Viewpoint. I see. So we're gonna make sure that happens. But some of them were done at Mesa College actually by some of our members and professors there. They held some emotional emancipation circles during Black History Month. So we want to just continue doing that. And what we do is come in, we do workshops. We've held some at the Malcolm X Library in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So really wanting to get that going more. Other things we do is to let the poet speak, which is an event where we have an open mic and have youth and college students and elders all come out and tell their stories, tell their poetry. We give them a band in the background, a nice, some music and stuff, and food. And so really just giving people an opportunity to build community, to know who's out in the community doing what, and then to share resources. We have our mailing list, so we're sending out resources. Also, all of our members are always getting contacted about how to find therapists and who's seeing who specializes in this. So we're doing referrals, on the back channels, getting referrals and just trying to get people hooked up and matched with folks.
Well, Dr. Pope, I just, sometimes it's dangerous getting old and having a memory. One of my big concerns has been, and it's why I'm so excited about you being there, it seems like attrition took over the Association of Black Psychologists because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we had some real strong people. We had, 30 years ago, let me go back, we had people like Dr. Charles Thomas, remember?
Yeah.
And Dr. Thomas was really doing strong, great things. He was very active at UCSD. He was active in the community. Him and his wife, they were a whole part of that whole movement for the MLK activity long before the law came along, and we lost him, in a tragic homicide. But what happened is, I'm noticing, and I need to understand better, because so many of those people just kind of faded away. And part of the reason was that some of them wanted to be of help, Dr. Thompson, but the support was not there in terms of insurance, in terms of the clinical treatment. And those people who were living off their practices, they couldn't do it for free. And so that created a kind of a double problem for us in terms of how. And as you were speaking, I remember when we had Harmonious Solutions, we used to have those group get-togethers and those discussions, and the paper sponsored a number of those gatherings even after the county stopped sponsoring them. And then we had Cleo Malone there, and his whole approach to an element that's probably been kind of left out because he wasn't afraid to deal with the drugs and the crime and all the things that other people would shy away from. And he was the one that would, gravitate toward those people in terms of inclusion. So I think we have a job cut out to bring all of that back together in terms of what you're saying. But I believe it's going to take some post-education studies to bring the others up to date, because I'm wondering how many of the members now are in your age group, or are the ones in the association you're taking over, are they the older ones that are fading? That's the big question for us now, sort of how we identify with this. That makes sense?
No. I definitely understand what you're saying. There's so much I want to respond to. I would say our membership is cross-sectional. So I would say we're intergenerational in our membership base. Folks are busy, and so I understand that. And COVID is a thing. And some people have different ideas about, if we can be in person and all that kind of stuff. So it's a new world that we're braving. But with that said, one of the things that I hope to do is to increase our membership and collaboration with a lot of groups. There's a lot of folks talking about mental health. So even on my work on the college campus, I've been at a lot of different colleges. And so at a college I was at, I had a student who talked about posting their mental health journey on social media. I was like, no, you can't do that. You can't put that. But they're in a different place, right? So this generation, it's okay to talk about, the mental health and the ask for help. And so, one of the things I would love to see on all college campuses would be peer mentors, or like mental health advocates. And so, as a first line of defense, and some campuses do have that, right? But like as a first line of defense, you're having, undergrad students be out there knowing what's going on with their peers. And sometimes they can go talk to them about some stuff that, they might not be ready to talk to a faculty or staff about. And so, I think that could be something. And there's stuff like that. There's different organizations on campus like Active Minds, and we have diversity peer mentors, but just some mental health advocates, I think, on every college campus. and in high schools and in elementary schools. And that's another program. There's a lot of programs, when they made me go to a lot of school and I got to see programming across the nation and in different cities and stuff. And so, one of the programs that touched my heart the most was in an elementary school, there was a counseling program. I was like, a counselor for elementary school students, huh? Not as different than just like real, like counseling. And so it was like a training clinic. And I was able to clean some of the data, and I was reading through where some of these elementary school students were. So I'm not surprised about, and this was like 10 years ago. So I'm not surprised about, the mental health, disparities with suicide, depression, anxiety, not surprised at all. But then these students in elementary school were able to meet with a counselor, a therapist, and get help and have different outcomes. And so I don't know, I'm really excited about the opportunity to really partner with other organizations that are already in existence and do some of this creative programming that I've been exposed to. Another program that I would share comes from my. Okay, go for it.
Before you do that, because I got 50,000 questions, and so I'm glad you're drinking water because I'm gonna make you thirsty tonight.
Okay.
We coming all the way back to the hood, our community where we grow up, and Uncle June, we just all used to say Uncle June is crazy. But Uncle June really have some mental health issues. How do we serve the community that was not used to having mental health, and how can we make it more acceptable within the African American community to talk, to seek out mental health, to even realize that even like being that we're both ministers of the gospel and Pastor Dr. Warren is a pastor, how do we help people that it's just not just pray it out, but with prayer you need some additional support?
Yeah, I would say, like having therapists come in and do some outreach, like that's something that we can do. So, to hold the workshop and get to know us. And then I think people will be like, okay, that doctor, well, he's not so bad. I can talk to him, right? Because I think we have ideas about what therapy is going to be like. We also there's like stereotypes about it, like, oh, like if I go to see someone, then I'm crazy, right? But no, like, man, you're working on your stuff, right? Like you deserve to have space for yourself to talk about the things that are important to you, to articulate the things that are important to you, and have someone listen and to be heard and attended to. And I think one of the things that happens so often in our lives, right? Like we're going from work and say, hey, how are you? Okay, bye. Okay, I'll see you next time. They don't really have time to sit there and really hear how you're doing. And there's something about when you do run into someone and it's like, hey, how you doing? And they really want to know how you're doing, that you just walk away feeling better. Yes. Right. And so I think, like, if that's the way I would say, that's therapy, right? And sometimes you got to shop around and find the right therapist, and make sure it's a fit. But definitely, like, it's something about being able to sit with someone, to be attended to be heard and understood, that just lets you go. And whether that's therapy, whether that's pastor at church, and we gonna pray together, right? And it's in those different contexts. Sometimes it's bigger than what any one professional could contain by themselves. And that's when we need some outside help. And so when people are, for instance, responding to internal stimulation, like hearing voices or seeing things, and we might need some more help, right? And so it's okay to call and phone a friend and ask for some help. You don't got to do that by yourself, Pastor. Like, call me now.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because we got a number of things happening here. A lot of pastors, not knowing some of them, they function as therapists because they're listening and giving advice, and many of them are not trained in terms of what advice they're giving or how they're handling the advice or the confidentiality. You got the difference between whether it's a Protestant scenario or somebody who's Catholic who's been programmed to go see the priest and make a confession. And the difference in the priest and the analyst is that the priest does not go and lay on the sofa after that and talk to somebody else. Supposedly he's talking to God, but I'm seeing a space here because you mentioned it the other day, and again, you're reaching out to people who are in graduate program, say in psychology, there's a place to bring them in. There's a place to bring in social workers because we have a lot of licensed social workers that are in reality functioning as psychologists. And so this is all very real. And our situation for Black people is different than for other people. First of all, we've been betrayed so many times that it's hard to have the trust, whether it's the pastor or the therapist or whoever. And then many people who were handling us in terms of counseling had no idea about who we really are or how to talk to us. And so we've seen our kids miss some opportunities because they had bad counselors. I mean, if I went by what my counselor said in high school, I was never supposed to get a job, let alone, go to grad school, be a lawyer, and do all these other things. If I had just gone by what they said, and most of the people that have succeeded, they've succeeded in spite of what they were told that they couldn't do. So now we have to start encouraging them again. And I think from your multiple approaches you're talking about, we've got to engage more people in
Yeah,
the
no, I mean,
community.
yeah, no, 100%. Like I have a vision, a dream of having a centralized place, building, location to bring some folks together and be able to do some work. Like as a licensed clinical psychologist, I can supervise. And so I would love to be able to get some kind of programming started in the community at a high level and be able to do some training, supervision, and give people the opportunity to get really quality level of therapy in the community. Would love to create that. For now, I'm seeing folks in the community, and I'm full, and that work is good, and people are seeking help, and this is good work. This is really good work, and I really do think that San Diego, with the kind of students that we have coming through the different programs at SDSU, that's where I mostly understand. But I've been at other campuses, and they got some good stuff going on too. And so I'm like, man, we really could create a centralized hub where we could do a lot of the great programming, like the best of all these different programs and networks, across the county, and really bring that together for folks.
So let me ask you this question. Um, um, when we have this everyday people that are listening in, and they say, Dr. Ricky, and so they got to put that doctor on it. They can't just call you Ricky. Dr. Ricky, I hear you. Now I need you to make it real simple for me, Dr. Ricky. I got a couple of issues that I need to talk to somebody about. Where can I go where everybody ain't gonna be in my business, but I can still get some help? Dr. Ricky, where do I go? Where are the resources?
Yeah, no, so definitely. So I mean, so there's more therapists, Black therapists, than one might imagine. So I went on Psychology Today. So Psychology Today, and then you can search by zip code.
Wait a minute, Dr. Ricky, I'm gonna interrupt you because I got Kaiser, and Kaiser said they got two. And I went and I asked a friend, and they only knew three others and everything.
Well, see, Dr. Thompson, you trying to get me in trouble. I might want to work for Kaiser one day now.
Oh no, I'm not saying.
Don't worry about that.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Is that when people go look at, because this, being an educator, this is the main thing that I hear consistently. I would like for my child to see a Black therapist, but I can't find them. And so my whole thing is, if I'm in the San Diego area, is there a hub, or is your organization going to create a book that we can know all the Black therapists that are at least in the region?
Yeah, no, we have a link, so I definitely will send that to you.
Let me help both of you with something.
Okay,
Okay,
go for it.
This is a very important. There was an African community where there were clearly some mental health issues, and so they brought one of our types in there to be a therapist and to meet and talk to people, and nobody would talk to them. And it was discovered accidentally that in this village and in other villages, there were some elder women who were like the mothers of the community, okay? And these were people that folks went to talk to. And so someone got the bright idea to gather up those mothers of those various communities and to bring them in and to put them through a almost a para training program, if you will.
Hmm.
And then what happened was they were able to put those people out there as advisors. They used different titles as listeners. And the especially the women, the people who would not come at first began to come, and they began to get the help they needed, but they weren't going to come and meet with the traditional presentation of the help. And so we have that now. Like you mentioned, Instagram. Now we're finding on the net that employers, when they get ready to hire, they're going and looking at people's social media page. And what's on your page can determine largely whether or not you get a job. And no one is telling them that because they putting their whole life on the page. You know, I went to the bathroom this afternoon, I stayed 20 minutes, and there are things that people don't need to know.
They said,
Okay?
whoop, there it is.
Say what?
Whoop, whoop, there it is.
that, that don't need to be, and that don't need to be on the internet, you know. And so I don't know. I might be a field, but maybe you heard of this. I can't remember exactly which country because I remember reading a study, but maybe there's something there that can be replicated, Dr. Pope, in terms of finding, because there are people in communities that folks listen to, and they're more likely to listen to them than they are to listen to even pastors. You know, some pastors have a bad rep because they deserve one. I remember 25 years ago, the pastors were supposed to be getting with the gang members, and one Sunday night, you won't remember this, Dr. Thompson. There was a meeting at ECC, and it was at night too, and the gangs came out and the pastors came out, okay, and most of the pastors just about wanted an escort to get home when they finished with them, because instead of them being able to talk to them, they came with, I know who you are. You been taking my mama's money and she bought you a car and you're overweight because they feeding you and you ain't doing nothing for nobody. No. And it was like slap down, and it was nothing that they could do about it because they weren't prepared to deal with it. So I believe we got to have more discussion, Dr. Pope, and we
Yes,
got to bring
absolutely.
more people in on the lay thing. Am I too far afield with this?
No, no, no. I think you're right, and I think yeah, absolutely. So what we would call it. So what I do on campus is I'm a restorative practitioner. I work in the Office of Restorative Practice, and so in that office for restorative practices, what we do is build and strengthen relationships across the community. And what is indicated here is a community circle, and really bringing in the elders, a restorative practitioner. I can do that. Some student voices, some high school voices, right? And to really hear a cross section of folks about what's going on in the community. And then the process of how that discussion, and that's kind of what I'm hearing from the narrative that you shared, really having a process that allows everyone's voice to be heard and ideas to be shared. Yeah, no, I would love to facilitate something that way.
You got a veteran right here of restorative practices. I mean, he's been
There we
trying to
go.
save the school system for years, and now they're driving him to retirement. So maybe he can be of greater help now that he's going to get out of prison.
But one of the things that we look at is that the thing called the trusted messenger, and as we begin to move forward in talking about mental health and places that are safe place to talk about things, we also are trying to create that sense of trusted messengers, people that and I use people like Vanjie Acreage and Kendrick Dow. People know them only because they've been in the community, they've been serving the community for quite some time. Kasimu Harley, they're looking for those trusted messengers that they can call on and that are kind of like ready, available. Now, mind you, everybody's schedule is jam packed, but as we're creating more and more therapists and more mental health specialists, how do we then make sure and ensure that our community has those trusted messengers and those messengers that really understand not every kid that is showing out because he's as bad or she's as bad, but there could be more things going on. And how do we get those trusted messengers to work with those parents and help them to see how they can serve them?
Yeah, no, I definitely think the community circles, like opportunities for people to get to know each other, definitely is a way to build trust. Uh, you know, I like to throw events, and so I get these events together. And people say, "Oh, these events, okay, that was fun." Well, the purpose of this is for us to get to know each other, and so we really bringing folks together, and getting folks the opportunity to network and build trust. And so some of the folks you mentioned, I know some of them folks. And so I appreciate the good work that they're doing. And there's a lot of work to go around.
Mm-hmm.
And I know folks are doing good work, and we don't even know their names.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's really what I want to do is really figure out who's doing what, so we don't replicate stuff that's already going, or how do we replicate and extend it, right? So that we're not reproducing the same thing, but then the stuff that's working, well, then how do we replicate that, extend it? Can we share ideas and increase our impact in the intensity of what we're doing?
Yeah.
So that's really my hope. The other thing that you mentioned, so
But
there
can I
are
jump in and say one thing?
Go for it.
As you go forward, one of the key things that as we're going and we're sharing is to not reinvent the wheel. One thing
Mhm.
that we do know is that we have a 63-plus-year-old newspaper that has been consistently in our community for 63 years. So they're one stop that we can use as a point of reference, like the Bible almost of your community, to be able to give out resources and give out connection points. Then you have your GOD radio. You have other points that if we all begin to work together and partner, then all aspects of the information, someone says, well, Voice and Viewpoint is print, but it's also app, it's also digital. So
Town hall
everything,
meetings,
yeah,
too, yeah.
everything that we need in our community, we do have an anchor, and we can build from that anchor. And I think that's what I'm trying to help everyone to say. Let's begin to connect and not rebuild wheels. We have, like the Boys and Girls Club. We have, the now the Blue Heart Foundation has a space in the community. Jackie Robinson Why? How do we use already established places to be either gathering points, information pieces, so that makes mental health and mental health support easier to be accessible and more user friendly?
Yeah, no, so I guess it's what you're saying is, yeah, okay, I got there. So some college campuses, they have what's called a centralized model,
Mm-hmm.
where the counseling centers, on the campus
Yeah.
and everybody has to come to it. And then some other places have an embedded model, and
Mm-hmm.
you embed the mental health services in the different colleges and departments across the campus. I think we need an embedded model. And so some of the places that you're talking about, I think that'd be awesome to be able to put some, I got like this master's program that I'm working with. So like they need hours. That's what's funny. So I got students that need hours. They don't have enough hours to get their training done. Right. And then there's people in the community, they need someone to talk to. So like, how do we get these students at the Boys and Girls Club with their own private office where they can do therapy, and then someone can supervise them and make sure they're doing what they need to do? That feels easy enough to do. I would love to help facilitate that and figure out how to partner with those folks to get something like that going. I think that would serve a vital need for training purposes and for meeting mental health needs in the community.
Okay, but one of the things I do have a concern is, and how do we prepare the students to come out to the what I call the neighborhood? Because if they're afraid when they go to the neighborhood, then it's hard for them to serve the neighborhood. So before they come out, is there any preparedness that you prepare them for, especially like in the population I serve a lot of Latinos and African Americans, but everybody
Mhm.
that comes out from state are all or normally young white girls.
And so that's why I would love to partner with you to get you with the right programs so that we can get a cross section of
Okay.
folks over there.
One of our callers makes the observation that churches have offices that are empty. And we've been talking quite a bit in recent weeks about empty church buildings now. At one point, in this community, churches like Bethel AME, they were using their open space to house the unhoused overnight with volunteers they're supervising. And we got a lot of buildings that are just locked up and they could be useful. But before we unlock the buildings, we got to unlock the minds of the people who are controlling the buildings and who because as someone mentioned that Jesus had to be in the picture. Well, he didn't call people to build a circle and get inside and wall it up. I mean, his ministry was outgoing, and our ministry is, if you're helping people, it's a ministry of helps. And so we got to get people to understand, like we say with our slogan for Black Men and Women United, our desire is to serve rather than to be served. And we have to recultivate or rekindle that desire in people. I don't know how we do it, Dr. Pope, outside of a crisis, because history has always used crisis as the teacher to unify people when they wouldn't come together otherwise. That's why I think God let them be in slavery for 400 years and let us experience almost the same.
Well, listen, this is how I feel. I just went through the 2020 pandemic just like everybody else, and we saw whole industries and organizations change and shift and pivot real fast. So now y'all want me to believe we can't pivot real fast again? I can't believe that anymore, right? Like if we want to really address mental health, then I feel like we can do it, right? Like there's just unlock the door, Paso. This is where I live. Here's my office.
Yeah.
I want to be in a community. I ain't going nowhere. No one's gonna graffiti the place now.
Well, we'll
right?
write them
Like
up. If somebody point them out, we'll write them up.
Yeah.
We'll get
Okay.
them unlocked.
Well, yeah, one of the things that I want to say to you, Dr. Pope, the reason why we move so quickly on having you on the show is because one, we're very proactive in supporting our community, but number two is we know that mental health is a major issue in our community, that we don't talk enough about it. We've invited you today, not into any accusatory mentality or anything like that. We really brought you on just to start the conversation, and we ain't gonna let you off the hook that easy. We're gonna keep inviting you back so that we can continue to talk about what's next. How do we impact? What type of services do you need to help you get to some of your goals? What's some of your energy? And then if
Yeah.
you can then use the newspaper to also write some things to the editor that we can continue to push. I think that this is a very necessary dialogue to begin to have, because we're going to see more and more mental issues before we see less. So we have to get prepared for it. So I want you to know that that's why it was so important to get you on early, and then we want to continue the dialogue with you.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely appreciate being here, and I think this conversation is so vital, necessary, and important. And I think having this conversation multiple times and in multiple places.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's something about, in particular, I have to say, bringing Black men together and in a circle, in a space of brotherhood. There's nothing like it. They need it. They don't know they need it. Once you give it to them, they won't let it go. Right.
Well,
So I
other
just
people
wanna-
call
yeah.
those support groups, but we
Yeah.
call it a gathering.
Yeah.
They used to call these meetings a gathering of egos. Remember?
Yeah, yeah.
As people came together, and we've tried a lot of this, especially using our facility at Voice and Viewpoint. We've had people come in. We had the local organizing project in for a couple of years after the first march, Million Man March. And we've opened the doors for weekend meetings and discussion groups. We've had the weekend circles that we have people come in and sit in a circle and we could talk, because that's what they do back east. It seems to be kind of hard to get folks on that path out here, and it's going to take a little bit more. But that's why Joan Crockett built the Center for Peace and Justice, because that's something that happens back east every week. There are discussion groups, and people are planning ahead while we're still partying. And so we got to come off a recess and settle down. And when we get serious, we have all the means to change everything. We have more than our ancestors had. We got education, we got technology, we got resources. The one thing we lack, which we can't get in this generation without it being passed down, is the heart and the will to do what needs to get done. Instead of every great black person that's done something, they did it in spite of the obstacles that were being launched against them, as opposed to now we just dwelling on the obstacles rather than dwelling on how do we get around this. So we want to do more of this. We want you to come back. We want you to be free to send some guest commentaries, but
Well,
you
but
have to.
listen. The next time I come back, I'm coming with some backup for y'all too.
Yeah, you know,
He comes with some backup. You don't need a
and
backup. You
that
cool.
yeah, and that would be really fun because
Yeah.
we talked a lot about African American males and community, but we also want to make sure that we know that our females also are looking for like and similar. And I just want to, and Dr. Warren wanted people to see your face. Being that you're a black men alumni, now black men and women, and you were a young boy, and now you're a grown man with a PhD behind your name, we want them to see what San Diego youth look like and what they're doing in the future. So it was very important for us to celebrate you and honor you for coming back to the foundation and then say, I want to be a part of it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no,
And we
thanks for
need
having me.
and we need these opportunities to beat our chest instead of just telling people what happened yesterday, and to see people today, just like with Precious Jackson Hubbard,
Yeah.
who came through all of this and she's still moving on and coming back. And then that's the hope that we give to people because and that helps build the faith. The word says faith cometh by hearing and hearing by the word. So we're giving it by example. So we're glad you're here. We want you to feel free to come back. Uh, Write, speak, notes, podcasts, whatever, and it don't all have to be warm and fuzzy. Sometimes people need a little bit of shake up, but
Well, as a psychologist, I like to seed people. So, I'm really interested because of the power of the digital image and what would be the possibility of some kind of Black network
oh, it's
for,
open.
Yeah.
okay.
We have a lot of ideas and things in the hopper, okay, and we're not going to be stopped by the obstacles. One of the challenges that with the newspaper business is we're the plane that goes down the runway every week, and once we commit, we can't stop. We got to take off, and we meet our deadlines. We lose people along the way because a lot of us don't understand deadlines, but we're on deadline. I mean, tomorrow is Thursday. Tomorrow's paper's already done. It's being printed tonight. It'll be there sunrise in the morning, and it'll be online in the morning, if not tonight. So there's no limit to what because now we can stream live stuff. If you can go on and see live meetings. This meeting is going to be archived so that people can pull it up and see what it is here, and we can build on it, and we can schedule meetings around stuff because we got unfinished business. We dealt with this topic last August, and nothing has happened from where we sit. And you represent the first ray of hope that we're gonna get a breakthrough with it. Yeah. So we're here.
And with that being said, sir, we want to thank you so much. We have, believe it or not, ended our time. And we're at the ending part of this. But want to say that just like they say at Black Men and Women United, that you are a member, you're a member by heritage and birth. And so you can come back and let's get back together. Let's have more dialogue. And when you have something exciting, don't hold up. Let's get it on and let's let people know and let's get people involved. Can I get that from you, Dr. Ricky?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I'll be back, and I'm coming with some backup for you though.
All right, okay.
Well, Dr. Warren, you got the final words.
We thank you so much, and we'll keep you in our prayers. And whatever we can do, feel free to call upon us. Sometimes we have to write a case study to show people what's happening. We're not afraid to do that. We don't have anybody that we have to say sir to, and nobody controls what we do. So we are totally free, and we can make it happen.
Well,
I appreciate the good work that you both are doing.
Well, with that was said, this is from the Desk of the Editor with Dr. John Warren. You all be safe. Like Dr. Warren would say, make sure you be kind to someone and make sure you go to church.